What's up, everyone? Steven here from TechMaker. In one of our last episodes, we looked at how to set up a basic VM on the Aleph network. And what I want to do is show you in this episode how you can actually set up your NFT metadata on an Aleph VM. And I'll show you why that matters. So this is Hot Potato. This is a fully on-chain game that me and some other people have been working on. And you can see down here we have powered by Chainlink, Polygon, and Aleph. So we have a fair number of aspects of this that are actually on Aleph. One of the things that we have is all of these in-game NFT cards, which can be used for various things in the game. And I want to show you essentially how I have the metadata set up right now, and then I'm going to start working on how I think I can move the metadata over to Aleph. So let's pull up an ERC 1155 Open Zeppelin. Let's pull up an example here of, so this is kind of what our smart contract looks like for our NFTs. And if you're really into Solidity, you'll know that ERC 1155 is not exactly an NFT contract. It's sort of fungibility agnostic, but that's for another video. So you have ERC 1155, you have ERC 721. Both of these are NFT contracts, and they both have different kind of variations on this URL where you specify where your metadata lives. So if we go to like OpenSea, over here, and we look at any sort, well, that's a bad example. Let's go to Goons of Galatroon. Am I not spelling this right? Goons of Balatroon. So any of these NFTs, if you click on any of them, they're going to have these in the properties section. They're going to have all these different aspects. So ours actually have, I should have pulled up one of ours. Can I go to my profile and see? Let's sign in here. Which account was it? It might be this one. Let's see. One of mine has some NFTs in it. We'll find out. Yeah, so you can see inside of here, like we have these vaporized NFTs, for example. Really crazy animation. And inside of properties, we have essentially the function. So it's avoid the slash. It's a utility card, and it gives you 100% off of the slash. That's just something that basically like we came up with. But essentially, you have to have this metadata stored somewhere. And so what most people do is set up some sort of API. And I'm sorry if my audio just totally changed. My good microphone just totally broke. And now I'm back on my old school iPhone headphones. But anyway, so most people set up an API, and that looks like this for us. NFTs.hotpotato.market slash, how do we do this? v1/1.json or something like that. Yeah, so that's one of them. The vaporized one we were just looking at is this one. So you can see here you have the name, vaporized, description, so on and so forth. This is all the stuff you just saw over on OpenSea. You can see here we have these traits that get sent over. So right now, this simple API is just running. It's a Rails application that's running on Heroku. It's really, really simple, but it's centralized. So if I were to take it down, all of our NFTs would stop working. Now, the actual images are on IPFS via Aleph, so those are decentralized, but this description stuff is really important, and it's baked into the smart contract. And what I've done so far is I've just uploaded the raw data to Aleph, and what I want to try to do is actually use the new virtual machines to recreate my API. And have that deployed in a way that's decentralized. Now, it won't be fully decentralized in the sense that the smart contract has a reference to the URL. So like, for example, hotpotato.market, I bought it on GoDaddy. And so if GoDaddy were to like disable my domain or something like that, or I quit paying the yearly fees or something, then it would go offline. And I don't have the contract set up right now to be able to change that. So that aspect, for the moment, I have no idea how to decentralize, but we can decentralize pretty much everything else. So let's see if we can do that. So essentially what we're going to need to do, let's pull up our little API we worked on in the previous video. Again, I'll link down in the description to a number of helpful things. So for example, I didn't really explain how I published this data on Aleph, but there's another video about exploring Aleph from several months ago that shows how to do that. So I'll link to that, and I'll also link to my previous videos about VMs. Anyway, let's see if we can get this going. So to get started, I'm going to log back into my Vagrant box with Vagrant SSH. And again, I'll have to link to some other videos if you're totally lost. Maybe I have to do Vagrant. Maybe I stopped the server here, so let's fire up this virtual machine. Okay, so now let's Vagrant SSH. And once we're in, we're going to say clear cd into the Vagrant app directory. And what's the command? I probably have it listed up here. Python. Yeah, so we covered all this previously. So let's go check that that's working in localhost 8000. Cool, so we're getting our greetings from TechMaker. So what we want to be able to do is basically copy the /v1/5 whatever, paste that at the end, and get back our same bit of data. So let's kind of just step our way through this. So the first thing I need to do is set up an endpoint. And again, I mentioned this last time, but I don't really know this whole fast API thing. So I'm kind of gonna just like rely on what I'm looking at here and some code that Mosh from Aleph actually sent me like several months ago when they were just kind of starting to work around with VMs, I think. So what I want to do is define a new route, I think, in Rails terminology, and we'll say /v1/ and then I think I want to do something like this and just say ID in here. And then I need to define a method. Again, I apologize if I'm getting some terminology wrong. And we'll just say def get metadata, I think might work. And then we'll just pass in and I don't know if I need to do, how would I do an integer? Let's say ID is int, maybe. So far it's not freaking out on me. And what we need to do actually first is at the top, what I want to do, let me think about this. I want to bring in, so this is something I'm just kind of copying over from what I saw Mosh do before. But it's Aleph client.asynchronous. We want to pull in the get posts method. Okay. So let's try this like this. Let's just first and foremost, let's say posts equals await get posts. Let's just get all posts for now, which should return like the last 100 posts or something. And then let's do return posts content. No, that's not right. It's going to be posts. I think I need a colon here or something. Okay, so let's go refresh and just kind of see what happens. We're not using our ID yet. I don't know if this is formatted correctly. I'm assuming that's right because it kind of prompted me for it. Let's go refresh and see here. Value is not a valid integer. Maybe I could do string. Okay, so now it's, so I'm thinking the params come in as a string, potentially as a default. So you can see here we're pulling back a whole bunch of junk from Aleph, so that actually did work. So let's actually filter out everything except for the item that we want. So should be able to grab the raw stored from here and get the item hash. So what we're basically going to do is, instead of getting all the posts, we're just going to get the post that we want. And in order to do that, what we can do in here is say hashes equals, and I'm going to hard code this because this is just where the data lives. And what we can do here is return posts, and then maybe grab the first one. And so let's go back and let's refresh and let's see what that gets us. Okay, so you can see here we've got our trait type. So this is our data. This is the correct data now, and now we just need to figure out how to filter it out so that when we basically select for the ID and get the one that matches this. Okay, so what we need to do, again, I'm taking this very step by step because I'm not primarily a Python dev, and I want to make sure that I don't do too much and then kind of screw it up. I think if we look back over here, what we need to do is pull out the content. So we have a top level attribute content, and then we have another attribute inside of that called content, and I think that will give us back just our JSON to start. Okay, so let's see if that works. So let's go over here and do content, and then again content, internal server error. Let's get rid of one of those. Okay, so actually looks like that's what we wanted. We just wanted the content. So I guess we can like kind of take this away and see, just like eyeball that really quick. Yeah, it looks like that content maybe top level, so I guess that makes sense. So save that. Let's refresh one more time. And so what we want to basically do is pull out where the index matches our number here. So this list, in my case, of NFTs won't change on this particular contract. It's already deployed and they're all basically hard-coded. So this list is sorted and won't change. It is what it is. So what I think I'm going to do, just to kind of keep this short and super simple, is what I'm going to do is just make this basically this is my NFTs equals this, and then all I want to do is return my NFTs, and then I want to convert my ID into an integer and then subtract 1, because the numbers that come in through the ID are going to be 1 through 5, and then we're just going to basically subtract 1 to get the actual array index. So if I save that and I go to refresh, I've got an internal server error. So let's go check our server real fast. Invalid literal for int with base 10 5.json. You know, I just realized something. I'm passing in v1 5.json up there. I wonder if I do like .json here, if it will actually just pull out that as a variable there. And that may actually let me do this as an int. So I don't have to cast it here. Let's try this. That could be interesting. Okay, cool. So let's see if these match exactly. Index 5 attributes, no. So what I want is actually to get the object that's one level down. So I'm going to say attributes here. Okay, now these are identical. Okay, so this is running localhost. I basically just recreated my API with this fast API, which again is not really my area so far, but it seems to work. Before I really deploy this and actually use it, I'll add probably some error handling and stuff in here, and maybe like actually make this a slightly better implementation. But this is okay. It kind of does what I want. Let's just do a quick scan here, make sure all the other ones work. So 4 should be burnt, 3 should be fried, 2 should be baked, and then 1 should be boiled. Okay, cool. So that's working. So the next thing to do, the last thing to do, is actually try to deploy this and see if it works. So I've been trying to deploy this, and I'm having a little bit of difficulty figuring out why it is not working. So one thing I'm going to do to start is actually, I'm going to say greetings again from TechMaker just to make sure that I have fresh code, because I'm getting the same message. So basically what's happening is this is working, but this is not working. So I want to try this out. So let's do Aleph program.app main app, and we will go ahead and publish it. And so let me make sure this is actually different. So I did this just above and got this INDU, so on and so forth. So that's different. So let's try this. Okay, so it's not actually picking up my code changes. So I don't know what's up with that. So I'm going to try a couple of things here and just see if I can figure this out. So if I run this again, ref of runtime, what are my options here? Can I do no? Add volume? No. I don't know what the ref of runtime means actually. Let's try this out again. Let's see. Internal server error. Server got itself in trouble. Okay, so that didn't work. I don't know what that question means. I just thought maybe I'm referencing some previous version or something if I clicked enter up there. Okay, so let's exit. So my code, because we're running this on Vagrant, I have this code directory here where my code is stored. So what I can do is safely Vagrant destroy. And let's quickly run through. Are you sure? Yes, let's destroy everything. Are you? Oh, did I type the wrong thing? I should have typed yes, sorry. Okay, so it's going to do a force shutdown and destroy everything. So let's do Vagrant up. I'm just kind of going to rebuild my environment. I'm going to go back through the install process off camera and just see if when I deploy again, if it works. If that works, that's cool, I guess. It's kind of bizarre, but yeah, we kind of know this is a little bit early in the process of development, so that's totally cool. I'm just like trying to figure it out. So I'll be back in just a minute once I have all of this rebuilt. Okay, so I'm back after tearing down and rebuilding the virtual machine. Didn't take more than a couple of minutes. And I'm in my Vagrant file, which has my app. So let's do Aleph help to make sure we have that. I just finished running the installation again. I did have to exit my VM and come back in just now to actually get the Aleph command to work. Okay, so anyway, let's try to run this deploy again. So it's Aleph program /app main app. And there very well may be a better way to do this, if this even works. I need to see if this works. So it's giving me this ref of runtime, which I think may be the problem here if I'm guessing. I think I'm going to go try this again, but I'm going to guess that there's something going on that I'm unaware of right now. Let's go try this, but I think it's not going to work if I just have to guess. Nope, there it is. So that worked. So let's check v1/1.json. And there's my info. So I don't know why it didn't work the first time. It's super cool. I'm happy that it's working now. It wasn't really hard. I just had to kind of tear down the VM and rebuild it on my Vagrant, not the actual Aleph VM, but the Vagrant virtual machine that I'm running all this in. So yeah, I don't know. Long story short, this is cool. It's what I wanted to do. I wonder what happens if I take off the .json. Nothing, because it's pattern matching. I assume, on that string that I gave it. Really quick, let me make sure. External URL, that's not the right one. Okay, so before I actually deploy this to our real app, I'll have to do some checks on some stuff. Probably need to check for, like, with and without the file extension there, the MIME type, I guess. But anyway, so we're doing these new, I'm trying to break up videos into this new kind of different types of content. And one of the things I'm doing is these 10-minute videos. And this obviously took quite a bit more than 10 minutes. I think it's going to be like 20 to 25 minutes. So it'll still be called 10-minute videos, but it's just because that's the series it's in. But it's a bit long, so I'm going to try to cut it here. I'm just trying to think. So I think in the next one, I need to, offline, I will probably clean up my code a little bit, add some error checks, be able to handle, with and without the .json extension there, all of that stuff. And then what I'm going to try to do, Hugo from Aleph gave me some information on how to connect this to a domain name. So I'm going to, once I get everything fixed up the way that I want, I'm going to actually try to connect to a domain name and make this the live where our data gets pulled from. So I'm going to actually record that whenever I get to it. Hopefully that's pretty soon. But until then, I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching.